What's up everyone, it's Cathie with Money Investing. Welcome on board for yet another Market Open live stream. We are doing it a little bit earlier today because of the most anticipated, most awaited, most important inflation data coming out in about 15 minutes. QQQ is higher, a little bit over 0.5%. We have recovered. We were much lower during the futures trading, and of course pre-market we were lower, but we are starting to push back higher. We've got the S&P 500 over here up a little bit over 40 basis points, and the Dow Jones also pushing up over 30 basis points on the day so far, and volatility is up over 1.88%, so back over 22. Just let me know if you guys can hear me and see me. Just want to make sure that there are no technical difficulties. Just want to make sure that this is working well. So just give me a thumbs up in the live chat, and we should be all set and ready to go here. The market's doing what they do best, kind of like anticipating what those numbers are going to be. So we'll have the QQQ over here, we'll have the SPY down here, and then we'll also have the 10-year yields on the bottom left of the screen. And also let me know if you guys can hear this, just so we're on the same page. This is going to be from CNBC. Let me know if you guys can hear this as well.
Cap out at is going to be paid for by loss of research and development for our pharmaceutical companies, which means that you'll have to wait longer for new drugs to come to the market. But there's no doubt that for the person receiving the benefit, it's good news. The question is, what's the price of that good news? And we don't have that discussion very often, and certainly we have not had that discussion so far. One of the things I write about in my book, A America Redemption Story, is the importance of
Perfect. So we should be all set. In about 13 minutes, we're going to get those numbers. And make sure that you do vote as well. Above 9.1%, below 9.1%, or at 9.1%. I did want to go over some of the interesting things here from the report, but these are the earnings. We'll circle back to this. We've got plenty of time to go over earnings and which companies are reporting today and how they reported. So first things first, we are going to be focused on inflation. So inflation is going to be coming out today at 8:30 a.m. Eastern in about 12 to 13 minutes here. 1.3% obviously was the change in the month of June. May was 1%. April was 30 basis points. Many people have anticipated that the change month over month for July is going to be less than 1%, way less than 1%, 0.2 or 0.3% on a month over month basis. And of course, right now, headline sitting at 9.1, core is sitting at just under 6%. So both of those are going to be equally important for the Fed. Core specifically is what they're paying attention to, and that's obviously going to move that interest rate probabilities when it comes to the Fed funds futures. And this is going to be the probability. So month over month, the actual consensus is somewhere between a flat change, meaning no change month over month, to as much as 0.4% for headline CPI, and year over year for us to sit somewhere between 8.5 to as much as 9%, 9.1%. So obviously if it comes on the higher end of this range, or it gets above 9.1%, which some of you have voted that inflation is indeed going to be above 9.1%, that is going to be very shocking to the markets, and that is going to be definitely a surprise when it comes to the federal funds futures, the interest rate probabilities as well. But the lower end of that range is 8.5%, and when it comes to core, 0.4 to 0.7%, and on a year-over-year basis for us to sit somewhere between 5.9 and 6.2%. So for core, the expectation on a year-over-year basis is for us to stay where we are or go higher. So there are expectations that core is going to actually move up and headline is going to come down a little bit. So this gap that we have seen that has widened over the last few months is going to contract once again. So pretty much the spread between the total headline CPI and the core is going to start to narrow in from today. We'll find out in about 10 minutes here. So again, this is going to be the interest rate probabilities, 67.5%, still expected at over 75 basis point hike from the Fed, and over 32% expecting for just about a 50 basis point hike. And these are the probabilities till the end of this year and going into 2023. This we'll dive into after the inflation numbers, but ARK Invest, Cathie Wood says inflation will unravel faster than expected. And ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood said Tuesday that inflation will break down faster than most economists expect ahead of key reading on price pressures. And this week's CPI could be flat or slightly down compared with last month. she said in a webcast, and she says, and I quote, "This could be the start of continuous surprises to the low side. It will unravel." And she also goes on by saying that we will be talking about deflation being a greater risk in the next 6 to 8 months. That is a very bold prediction because she says, and I quote, "Innovation results in a deflation. One of the metrics that have been very telling is long-term treasury yields, and the bond market is expecting growth to surprise on the low side as well." So she's definitely expecting some big surprises from inflation numbers in about 9 minutes or so, and deflation to be a bigger problem in about 6 to 8 months. So yeah, good morning, good morning. This will be the longest 10 minutes of my life. Yeah, it's going to be 9 more minutes now. Should be very interesting what those reports are going to look like. But some of the things that we're really paying attention to are going to be, of course, energy and food prices. So food obviously was up a little bit over 1%, 1.3, 1.9, almost closer to 1.5% on a month-over-month basis. And then of course energy prices once again pushing higher, 7.5%. Energy commodities up 10.4. Energy commodities, gasoline, all types, fuel, oil, energy services, all of them up 10, 11, 3%, 4% on a month-over-month basis. And utility piped gas service up over 8.2% as well on a month-over-month basis. And of course, over the last 12 months, they are up substantially, double digits. If you analyze these numbers, obviously they've been very, very aggressive as well. So the expectation really is going to be that energy prices are going to slow down, and that is what we are also seeing. I mean, if you take a look at the month of July, we did see crude oil drop down a little bit over 7.27%, along with a lot of other commodity prices as well. So the expectation really is that we are going to see pressures ease when it comes to inflation overall. That's why we've got majority of people right now in the poll saying 70% that inflation is going to be under 9.1%. Only 22% expecting inflation to be above 9.1%. Make sure that you vote if you haven't already. That is going to be very, very important. And also make sure that you drop a like if you enjoy this stream. We've only got 63 likes with over 400 people watching, so I would really appreciate a very quick like on this stream. So once again, thank you so much for joining, everybody. We got about 7 more minutes left, and it should be interesting. What's going to be more interesting is the interest rate expectations. We're going to just open that up as well, and that's going to be the Fed Watch tool. And we're going to be paying close attention to this as well as soon as the inflation numbers come out, because of how important this is going to be for the markets. And that's going to be the target rate probabilities for the September meeting. So remember, we don't have a meeting in August. Our next Fed meeting is in September. So the Fed has this very long break, and they will have access to a lot of data prior to making their next decision when it comes to interest rates. And in the Fed meeting, they'll also be releasing the summary of economic projections, so SEP, for the rest of this year and going into 2023 for 4 things: inflation, interest rates, unemployment, and GDP growth. All those 4 things and their projections are going to be released in the SEP in September. And yeah, right now still 65% is going to be 75 basis points, and 34.5% is going to be for 50 basis points. And keeping our consensus in check, this right here is going to be the consensus. The range over here and the actual estimates, 0.2% month over month, year over year 8.7%, so it's going to come down. And excluding food and energy, month over month 0.5%, and year over year 6.1%, so going a little bit higher. So in other words, that spread kind of narrowing in a little bit. So that's where we are. QQQ slightly up, 47 basis points. We got the SPY up over 34. The 10-year yields are still kind of muted, just a little bit over 2.8%, just over 1% in the green. Volatility still up 1.7%, so just a little bit over 22. Oil prices coming down just under $90 a barrel. And then some of the individual stocks, we got Apple here up over 36 basis points. Then we got Meta up over 1.17, Tesla's up over 2%, and then AMD's just flat, and Nvidia here just also flat, up over 32 basis points. So we got 5 more minutes left. 5 more minutes. I'm just gonna go through some of the comments here. So Ranjit says, fasten your seatbelt due to the upcoming turbulence and breakout. Yeah, so one of the levels that we are paying attention to for the NASDAQ, specifically for QQQs, is 318. And right now we are trading past $318 once again. So if you come over to the 5-minute chart, we are back above $318. So this will get turned into a support again. We are going to be paying attention to this right after the numbers come out. Do we sustain these levels? Do we stay above 318, or do we see a potential breakdown back below $318? So should be interesting. Should be very, very exciting. Hopefully there's no lags. Let me know if the stream's working well. It should be. It should be working really well. So we should be all set. So wonder if Elon thinks CPI is going to be coming in hot. That's why he sold. If not, then why not sell after CPI sometime after a run up if he thinks it will come in lower? Yeah, I don't think Elon Musk is really going to be trying to time the market when it comes to inflation. I think he's just focused on raising some more capital, raising some more equity in the situation where he is forced to close the Twitter deal. So I think he's just covering all his tracks and just trying to make sure that he has enough money, enough equity to close out the deal for Twitter and buying it for $44 billion. Because, I've mentioned this before, that Twitter does indeed have a very strong case against Elon, and the court where it's filed, that court pretty much specializes in M&As. And they basically fast track that very, very quickly. Like, I think this thing, from what I've researched and what I've learned, could be over in months. It's not one of those things where it can be dragged on for years, but it's going to be a rather faster process. So I think it might just be him raising some more cash to make sure that he has enough. I think he also responded to a tweet from, I don't know who it was, but he responded to a Twitter thread saying that was the reason why he is actually selling Tesla shares to make sure that he has enough to cover for his Twitter deal and to make sure that there's no sort of like an emergency Tesla sale if that's the case. So yeah, if he doesn't buy Twitter, then he's got to put the money back into Tesla. Yeah, that could be a very bullish catalyst for Tesla, obviously, if he doesn't end up buying Twitter, if he somehow gets out of the deal. So yeah, here we go. About 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. I'm gonna quickly, start up with this. We'll go over to live. Right now on break, so as soon as this thing comes up, we will be ready to go. QQQ is gonna be over here, up over 72 basis points right now. Still got about 2 minutes left for CPI numbers. And SPY is up over 42 basis points right now. So yeah, as soon as this comes up, we will switch over and we are good to go.
You're standing by for July CPI data in just about 2 minutes' time. Let's bring in our expert panel. Jason Furman, former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. Victoria Fernandez from Crossmark Global Investments. Seema Shah, a principal global investor. Stephanie Link, Hightower chief investment strategist. And our very own Steve Leisman and Rick Santelle. Steve, you're here on set. Let's start with you. What are we looking for?
Yep, some relief in the headline, but we're not going to get relief in the one that matters, Melissa, which is the core prices. It's supposed to go up, and what's driving that are services and housing. Housing eventually, services still has some price increases to process from wage gains.
Jason, how about, I liked in the notes, I think you called it inertial inflation here, and maybe it's even poised to go higher given we haven't seen the full effects of anything.
Yeah, look, a lot of these releases surprised us. Maybe this will. But my worry is, yes, this will be good for consumers in the short run, but the parts of inflation that are most sticky, that last the longest, that are the hardest to get rid of, those are the parts that have been rising lately. I'm worried we'll see more of that in this release.
Ahead of the release, we are seeing futures creep a little bit higher. Seema, I'm wondering how you are positioned for this. And what you anticipate?
So I think, like we've seen over the last couple of inflation readings, that they can go very much against what markets are expecting. I think going into this, and given that we have a lot of momentum, positive sentiment in the market at the moment, that it's the right time to be neutral equities. That doesn't mean that I'm neutral for the next 6 or 7 months. I think there will be renewed equity market downturn. But for now, I think it's time to be neutral.
Stephanie, what is good news out of the release in your view? Is this the weird good news is bad news is good news sort of a world that we live in?
No, I think good news is good news, and good news would be that the number comes down substantially. Obviously, we're looking at the year-over-year number, but the Fed looks at the month-over-month number. That number is expected to be two tenths in terms of the headline, and then 5/10 on the core. So to the extent we can see some of the month-over-month numbers come down, that would be viewed positively. But we're going to need to see many months of month-over-month declines for the Fed to take a pause.
Okay. Numbers have hit. Rick Santelli, what do you have?
On the headline, expected up 0.2% for our consumer price index July read, unchanged, double goose eggs, 0. And last month, of course, up 1.3. That's the highest level since 2005. If we look at ex-food and energy, up 0.3, also less than the 0.5% anticipated, and less than half for the rearview mirror, which was up 0.7. The high water mark here, folks, goes all the way back to April of 2021 when it was up 0.9%. Now, the year-over-year numbers. Year-over-year headline up 8.5. This is the one I was a bit nervous about. In the rearview mirror, it was up 9.1. 9.1, that was the highest since 1981. 8.5 brings us back to levels we haven't seen since just April of this year. And finally, ex-food and energy on the year-over-year outlook, up 5.9, expected to be up 6.1. It equals our last look, which was up 5.9. High water mark here was in March, where it was up 6.5, the highest since 1982. And if we look at what's going on with interest rates, they are falling. And for a change, we have a bull steepening going on. Bull steepening, meaning prices are rising, and that's pushing short rates down almost twice as fast as long rates, but all rates are going down. We're down almost 16 basis points in a 2-year. We're down about 10 basis points in a 10-year, and it underscores the Fed, by its very nature of ill forecasting success, is reactionary. The market's not, and the market continues to do what it's now done for weeks and weeks, and that is long rates are moving down. It believes that transient...
Wow, what a freaking report. I love it. So QQQ is up over 2.3% right now, trading past $324. We got SPY up over 1.7%. So CPI month over month, no change, 0%. So literally nothing. And core month over month was 0.3%, much lower than the expected numbers. Year over year, 8.5% for headline, which is way below the consensus 8.7%, and obviously lower than what we had last month at 9.1%. And core, which was expected to go back up 6%, now sitting at 5.9%. Quick check on some of the individual stocks, because stocks are absolutely firing off. Meta's up over 3.6%. We got Apple up over 1.9%. And then we got Nvidia up 3%. And Tesla up 4, trading as much as $887. So let's just refresh this. I'm interested in more of the interest rate expectations as well, and what is going to be that consensus from the Fed Funds Future. So a little bit unchanged. This does take a little bit longer to kind of reflect what we just got from inflation, but reload this page as well. We'll go over to the PDF. So again, this actually is not updated yet. We want the numbers from July. So let me see, I can open this up in incognito PDF. There we go, July 2022. All items index 8.5%. Look at that change, nothing, 0.0%. That's incredible. And then of course, year over year coming down pretty dramatically, and core starting to kind of flatten out. So we are seeing a little bit of narrowing between that spread between the headline and the core. And then when you take a look at some individual items, well, as expected, if you take a look at this table and we've kind of figured out what went down, fuel, oil, and gasoline were the big things. Actually, all energy, right? Energy commodities, all of them down over here. So this is the month over month change, minus 4.6, minus 7.6, minus 7.7, and minus 11%. Food was still up 1%, 1.1, 1.3%. So that was still pushing higher. Transportation services coming down as well on a month-over-month basis. So again, those are your airlines, and as gas prices are coming down, we are seeing a little bit of a pullback in transportation services as well. And then apparel was down about minus 0.1%, and used cars and trucks also down 0.4% on a month-over-month basis. And utility gas service, piped gas service, is down negative 3.6%. So that is also very, very good news. We've talked about how energy is one of the biggest contributors to overall inflation. And it's good to see that we are seeing those numbers kind of rotate back down, and all really depends on where energy goes from here. Obviously, in the month of August so far, we have seen energy also down. So if you come over to this chart month over month, you'll notice that we are down. For the month of August, energy is down over 8%. So next month's report, if this stays this way, could be even better. But obviously depends on where energy prices close out for the month. If you get bought up, if they go back over $95, $100 a barrel, then obviously that could result in some increases in the price of the pump. But right now, so far, so good. July was down 7.27% for crude oil prices, and right now we are seeing a little bit over 8%. So yeah, so Oscar, you kept saying it's all energy, but shelter makes up 1/3 of the report. That's right. Shelter does make up 1/3 of the report, but shelter hasn't really moved all that much. It has gone up maybe 0.5%, 0.7%, 0.1%, like very small numbers on a month-over-month basis. So if you analyze those numbers, they're modest, but nothing compared to energy. I mean, in some cases, energy was up 100%, 200%, year over year in some of those individual items, as we have done, we've dug deeper in those energy numbers, and some of them were up 100%, 80%, 90%. So they are really, really influencing overall inflation report. So very, very good to see that we are seeing some very strong numbers come through. And this is just an incredible, incredible jump here in the NASDAQ, up 2.2%, SPY up 1.6%, the Dow Jones also up 1.2%. Of course, a lot of individual stocks also just absolutely shooting through the roof of my charts here, and hard to see where we are. So let's just quickly see if we can reload this page, see if there's any changes in interest rate expectations or where we are with respect to this report. So same right now, 65% still expected. We'll give it some time. Usually it does take time to kind of update these numbers, but we'll keep a close eye on interest rate expectations as well. But overall, very, very strong numbers coming through. Now, of course, the question becomes, is this a start of something new? Is this a start of inflation eventually coming down, or if there's just a little bit of a pullback? Because again, if you come over to this report, it's not like we haven't seen these drop-offs, right? So over here, we did see inflation come down. So right over here, you can see kind of CPI, headline CPI peaked down a little bit. Core was also showing signs of improvement. It was coming down, but then eventually took off once again and started to push right back up. So again, this question becomes, is this a new trend? Is this something that we are seeing, okay, inflation has indeed peaked and we are going to start to continue downwards, or if this is just a little bit of a pullback in an overall uptrend for inflation as well? That's going to be a topic of discussion moving forward. So yeah, Tesla's flying. Absolutely. Tesla's up to $889, up 4.7%. You got Meta, 3.4%. Apple's up 1.5%. Nvidia is also up. Amazon's up 2.7%. We got AMD pushing higher, 2.84%. Oleg says NASDAQ can get plus 5% end of day. Man, 5% would be crazy. It would be like one of the biggest days for the markets ever. So we gotta get ready, right? It's probably going to be a very bullish day given a very strong inflation report. So it should get really, really interesting how the day kind of pans out. Now, talking about the QQQs, look at that jump here. We just got up to 325, and look where we got rejected. Literally, look where we got rejected. If you kind of zoom back on the chart, this is the exact place where we have gotten rejected all day this week and last week. So this has been the 30-minute time frame chart on the QQQs. So we've been talking about this resistance, breakout on last Wednesday. We got rejected on Thursday. We got rejected on Friday. We got the strong jobs numbers over here. We sold off. 318 acted as a support. Monday, we had a brief breakout, but weren't able to sustain above those levels for very long. We sold off, bounced off of that 318, and then broke down yesterday, got a little bit of a retest, and then today on the inflation numbers, we are back up above 318, but getting rejected at $325 yet again. So another resistance here that we need to pay attention to. We'll see if we actually do break out over that level intraday, and if we're able to stay above that level. So right here, 325, that's the red line. Right now we are getting rejected here on the 5-minute time frame. So yeah, look at the green candles, very, very strong. Jolly says, I smell a bull trap. Well, just given how good inflation numbers were, it's hard to see this as a bull trap because, of course, that's exactly what everybody wanted, is for overall inflation numbers to kind of cool off a little bit. And again, we'll kind of reload what those interest rate expectations are because they haven't moved, at least not right now. We'll continue to monitor this and reload it and see if we can get any updates on these numbers as well, because they are going to be equally important as the inflation numbers. So they have moved up a little bit, 65 to 67.5%, but no material shift in overall interest rate expectations. So yeah, very good numbers. So, okay, let's see here. Cathie, what has changed in the economy? So, a couple things we have talked about. Number one was the oil prices. That was a very, very important sort of indicator, leading indicator for overall inflation numbers. That's exactly why energy was something that we were tracking in our inflation spreadsheet. That's a Google spreadsheet that's available for everybody. So energy, obviously, we were tracking on a month-over-month basis, and the fact that it's been selling off over the last couple months here, it takes time to reflect that in the prices at the pumps. And that's exactly what we saw in this inflation report, right? Month-over-month changes in gasoline, fuel, oil, utility piped, all those things coming down. That's a good thing. That's a great starting point. And obviously, we're showing some great signs for that. And the second thing is obviously the interest rate expectations from the markets when it comes to the Federal Reserve. Yes, they're still going to be aggressive. I still do think that 75 basis points, even after this very strong inflation numbers, is still on the cards. We still have one more inflation numbers to go through for September. That's going to be for the month of August prior to the FOMC meeting. But I do think that 75 basis points might still be on the cards even after a very, very strong inflation report. Yeah, so NASDAQ here up 2.5%, a very, very strong move. And SPY also, just look at the amount of green candles we've seen in the last 13 minutes. It's just insane. And of course, Tesla just nonstop, up 5% now, $893. Incredible, incredible. So Alex says increasing my estimates in NASDAQ plus 7%. Yeah, since core did not move, I don't think the Fed will stop raising rates. That's true. I think core was, again, a very, very important element, as to what the Federal Reserve is watching as well. And you're right. I think core going up 0.3% month over month, it's actually not a bad thing, but coming down on a year-over-year basis, actually pretty much staying flat on a year-over-year basis from 5.9 to 5.9%. Is definitely taking worth note of, right? It's not terrible, but it's also not great news because it still went up higher. What we really want to see now is month-over-month declines, like prices actually coming down on a month-over-month basis. No change is good, but we want to see prices actually retreat. And that's obviously very difficult to do because even though gas prices, oil, energy, they all sold off on a month-over-month basis, that was pretty much offset by other things that kind of went up, right? So if you go over to our report and see what actually went up on a month-over-month basis, we had food prices. Food prices were still 1.1%, 1.3% pushing higher. We had new vehicles push up 0.6%. Let's just go down for a more detailed report. There we go. 2.1% increase in cereals and bakery products. Man, cereals and bakery products, that's something that we have been talking about for a long time, and that has been pushing higher month over month. You can see that 2%, 1.5%, 2.1%, 1.8%. So they've been pushing higher quite a bit. This is the changes down, 4.6, 7.6, 11%, negative 7.6, negative 7.7. So that's really good. But then other than that, things that actually went up Airline fares, look at that, minus 7.8%. Airline fares coming down. That's a big contribution to transportation services. And then let's just come over to all items less food and energy, which is going to be a little bit further down. Right here. So all items less food and energy, 0.3% increase on a month-over-month basis. So 5.9% is where we are. So hopefully you can see that. I know it's pretty small, but things that I'm highlighting: 5.9% year-over-year change, 0.3% month-over-month. So 4% increase for window coverings. So window coverings were up 4% month over month. So that's the thing, right? Things are going down. Like other furniture, prices were down 3.1% month over month. And major appliances were also down 2.2%. But that's kind of getting offset by some of these other things like window coverings that are apparently up 4% more in demand. Even laundry equipment, you can see right here, is up 1.7% on a month over month basis. You scroll down a little bit, we are seeing a pullback in things quite a bit. Men's apparels, right, down 1.2%, 1.1%, 1.2%, 2.4%, and then getting offset by women's dresses, pushing higher, 3%, 2.7% for women's suits. And then, yeah, that's the thing, right? So core, not a terrible report, but a lot of it obviously getting offset by some of those other things. But overall, on a net basis, only up 0.3% month over month, and year over year kind of flat. So let's just see if you can reload this. Any expectations that have changed for 50 basis points versus 75? Right now, still probability is, Brendan says bullish women's dresses. There we go. Finally. Thank you. So it takes time. It takes a lot of time to kind of price in those federal funds rates and the futures, and boom, right here, that's the flip that we were waiting for. And now the probability is for a 50 basis points hike in the September meeting after a very strong inflation report. And that's primarily the reason why the market is pushing higher, is because after a very strong labor market, the probability shift. So this flipped big time to 75 basis points, and now it's flipped back over to a 69.5% probability for a 50 basis point hike for the September meeting. So there's the flip that we were waiting for for so long, for the last 15 minutes. Yeah, the market's pushing higher very, very much. So change your red mic to be data objective, as now is bull market, green market. So yeah, we're breaking the curse. We're breaking the curse for all the hate that the red mic received during the bear market. It's time to break the curse. Richard with a very funny comment. You guys crack me up. But Tesla's up 4.8, so $891. AMD also pushing up 3.3%. We got Amazon up over 3.29, and Nvidia also pushing higher, with QQQs just battling through 325. 325 is a very, very important level, so you can see how we're just consolidating sideways now. Unbox the green mic. Yes, we'll unbox the green mic very soon. And yeah, so QQQ, SPY, and volatility should be down. Yep, so it's down over 5%. So selling right back down to 20.64. So very, very strong move to the downside. And energy prices more or less flat here on the day so far. So this is the overall chart for Alex. This is the chart for QQQs that I would pay attention to. And right now we're just getting up to this lower high. Once we clear 325 after the close, I would be a lot more confident that, you know, we're starting to see some real strength in the markets. We're starting to break outside of the lower highs, and we're starting to see some very nice higher highs and higher lows. So yes, let's just do a poll of whether we're going to break out of 325 or not. But yeah, very, very excited to see this big shift in overall interest rate expectations. All right, let's just do a poll here. We'll end this one. 70% of you said below 9.1%, so congrats on that. It was incredible. And then let's just see what QQQ is going to be like. So QQQ today, we'll do breakout above 325, rejection at 325, and then a close at 325, meaning that we're going to break out above 325, we're going to get rejected and sell off, or we're going to exactly close at around $325. So that's going to be the next poll for us. And hey, look, the stream worked well, right? There's been no lags. We even have so many different things open, but the stream's been working well. So the least you guys can do is drop a like. I would really, really appreciate that very much. So thank you so much. So, Cathie, do you think the inflation print is really something to celebrate? I mean, we know nothing about the future and whether this level can stay elevated for like a year or more. No, that's right. That's absolutely true. And, obviously, we'll have to wait and see what those future prints are going to look like because, as I've said before, one data does not make a trend, right? One data in itself is only a data point. It doesn't make a trend. For it to make a trend, we need to see multiple reports of absolute improvement in the overall inflation numbers. So, what I'm really paying attention to is, again, our inflation spreadsheet. That, I think, is more important because those are leading indicators, right? So if you come over to our commodities, these are some things that I will be paying attention to, right? So you look at copper futures, how they've been selling off. I mean, this is June all the way through, like right now, they're down 21%. Lumber prices, they've come down so much. Since March, they're down 60%. You look at corn, it sold off from like June till now, down 20%. You could look at natural gas. Natural gas is one thing that, if you look at our inflation spreadsheet, the Google spreadsheet, natural gas is one thing that is up on a month-over-month basis. If you come over here, this is the monthly chart. In the month of July, it was up 51% from June's sell-off of 33%. And surprisingly enough, in the inflation numbers, it was still down on a month-over-month basis. So, that is something that is strange. But if you look at soybean, in the month of July, it was down 1%. The month before that, down 4%. And then, of course, some of the other commodities that we're tracking, palladium. Then we got gasoline here. This is retail gas, down a little bit over 11% in July. And so far in August, down 5.7%. Orange juice actually has been killing it recently from our futures update, but definitely something to take note of as well. And wheat prices in the month of July were down over 6.4%. This is going to be agriculture ETF called TAGS. In July, it was down over 2.8%. And then sugarcane, was down over 6.33%. And then coffee, I also have. This is milk, by the way, GDK, this milk futures, down a little bit over 3.39% in the month of July. And then rice was slightly higher in June. It was down about 4.5%. So we have seen across the board prices kind of stabilize and pull back, which is a good thing. And if that continues, then I think people can remain confident that we are going to see a leveling off in inflation overall. So yeah, that's where we are. We've got about another 35 minutes or so for the markets to open, and QQQ is still struggling at 325. We're just like flattening out a little bit after the jump. SPY is at 1.34%, and the Dow is still also up. Actually, this is going to be, we're going to keep the Dow here. We're going to keep the SPY over on the left. SPY is at 1.73%, and the Dow is up 1.33% right now. All right, let's just talk about some of the other updates now. So inflation's done. I'll quickly run through our presentation here and talk a little bit about other things. We'll touch on earnings here in just a minute, but let's just quickly go over some of the other things as well. So Bank of America adds Meta to best ideas list, removes Alphabet. This was a little bit strange, not because they added Meta to their best investment ideas list, but they removed Google from it. So Bank of America added Meta to its best investment ideas list called US1, while removing Google parent Alphabet, and the investment bank manages a list of 30 to 40 names of long-term investment picks from analysts. That was something interesting. We already went over Cathie Wood and ARK Invest's take, and obviously how she sees deflation being a bigger problem. Talked about this as well. Elon Musk sells 7.92 million Tesla shares worth $6.88 billion. Did a video on this as well. There were 6 Form 4 filings from Tesla on August 9th, and these were sales from Friday last week, Monday of this week, and Tuesday. So all 3 days, how Elon Musk was selling over 7.9, almost 8 million shares to raise a little bit over $6.88 billion. Prices range anywhere between $840 to as much as $870 to as much as $885 a share. So the rude awakening for bankruptcies Elon Musk warned about hasn't happened yet. This was also, that was interesting. But this quote-unquote rude awakening the billionaire warned about is yet to surface in corporate America. Despite the erosion of wage gains by high inflation and an ugly stock market, corporate America has yet to show substantial uptick in bankruptcies, according to recent data from S&P Global. So in a report published earlier this month, S&P counted only 212 U.S. bankruptcy filings from the start of this year through July 31st. This marked the fewest number of bankruptcies filings through the first 7 months of any year going back to 2010. So this is the chart of U.S. bankruptcy filings by year. 2010, there were over 828 companies. 2011, 634 companies. 2012, 586, so on and so forth. We've averaged about 500 per year. And so far in the first 7 months, July 31st, it's been 212 companies, which is the lowest number since 2010. And we'll see what the rest of the year has in store for this particular statistic. But that was also something that was very interesting. I think more and more companies are kind of strapped with a lot of cash right now. And I think they've been a little bit smarter about where to allocate funds. But I think we will see a little bit of an uptake in this. I won't be surprised if we do, just given how how much we have seen unemployment also very, very strong. But companies have also kind of retained a lot of workers because they weren't able to find enough workers during times of need, and that's obviously a bigger expense for a lot of these companies. So we'll see if this ticks up higher a little bit. So let's see. Let me just go over some of the comments, then we'll talk a little bit about the polls here. Yeah, most companies were already wiped out during COVID. So 2020, we did see some increase in those numbers. So 2020, 639. It's a lot, right? That's the highest going back as far as 2010, pretty much. Yeah, so you're right. 2020, we had a lot of bankruptcies, 639 companies. And if you go across, that's the highest since 2010. 2021, we were a little bit lower. And this all has to do also with a lot of, stimulus checks and PPP loans and, a lot of stimulus money propping up balance sheets and, share dilution and a lot of just funds being raised in the markets and helping companies kind of sustain these periods of distress. Michael says not buying Tesla is the biggest personal finance misconception. Yeah, that's a tough question. There's a lot. There's a lot of them. Yeah, but overall, very, very strong report here from inflation. Finally, it felt like up until like this report, it felt like every inflation report was just an excuse for the markets to sell off, and that's what we have seen for the last 7 months. And this is, I think, the first inflation report that we are seeing a very, very nice jump to the upside. But most inflation reports and live streams we have done has led to just significant amount of selling pressure in the markets on the day of. Bitcoin's back over 24,000. So we haven't touched on crypto yet, but let's talk about that. So Bitcoin's up over 3.8%, back over 24,000 right now. Ethereum, look at that, 7% move, up over 1,800 right now. So very strong move to the upside. Let's just run through some of our more speculative stocks. Upstart, 2.8%. LABU is up over 7.86%, so back over $12.35. And Mara is up over 7.5%. Let's take a look at AMC. Up 4% right now, so very strong move. How is InMode doing? 4.6. It's like any stock you look up right now, probability is that it's going to be higher. Trade Desk, TTD, is also flying. Wow, 20%. They reported earnings as well. So miss on EPS, pretty much in-line EPS, and revenue was 377 million, so beat on revenue. So yeah, let's just run through some earnings calls here. And here is going to be Trade Desk. So Trade Desk reported diluted earnings per share of 20 cents per share, up from 18 cents same time last year. Analysts were expecting 20 cents, so pretty much in line. And revenue was 377 million, up from 280 million. And analysts were expecting 365. So pretty much met on EPS, beating on revenue. And the company said it expects Q3 revenue of at least 385 million and adjusted EBITDA of about 140 million. Analysts polled by Capital IQ call for revenue of $382.3 million. So not only are we getting a big inflation driven move in the markets to the upside, but Trade Desk also pushing higher on very strong numbers on a revenue beat and EPS coming in line with expectations. Other companies that were going to be reporting numbers, let's take a look here. All right, so Jumia and Wendy's are going to be today pre-market. But of course, from yesterday, we had Coinbase, Roblox, Trade Desk, Unity Software, Wish, Celsius, all these companies. So let's start with Coinbase and see what they reported. Coinbase is up 2.7%. Looks like after hours, they jumped pretty aggressively up 10%, and then they sold right back down over 11%. They were trading as low as $80 and right now pushing higher. They missed on both revenue and EPS. EPS came in much worse than expected. So let's see if we can find those numbers here. All right, so Coinbase reported a second quarter EPS of 498 versus 642 same time last year. They actually reported a loss of 498 versus earnings of 642 same time last year. Analysts were expecting a loss of $1.23, so much bigger loss than expected. Revenue came in at 808 million, down from 2.23 billion. So that's a big decline year over year. And analysts were expecting 868 million. And monthly transacting users fell to 9 million second quarter from 8.8 million same time last year. And transacting volume declined 217 billion from 462 billion same time last year. So very, very low volumes, low transactions for Coinbase, considering what's happened with Bitcoin and overall crypto market. So I think that's pretty understandable, but pushing higher here at $90 on the backdrop of the overall markets pushing up. So yeah, Tesla here, $889, up 4.5%. Very, very strong move. I feel like we're pretty much covered up in a lot of things here. I think a lot of things are just done. I think we've talked about inflation. We've talked about interest rate expectations. I don't think they've moved up. Let's just reload this page, see where they are. Yeah. A little bit of a flip, 62.5%. Still the consensus is pretty much with the 50 basis points, and overall this is still the rectangle that I'm paying attention to, the red rectangle right here. QQQs between $318 to $325, $326. Yeah, PubMatic had earnings yesterday. Very, very strong move for PubMatic. It was pushing up 23%, so very nice rally yesterday on a very strong numbers, reports like earnings beat, revenue beat, so very, very strong numbers coming in from PubMatic, and it's starting to really get a little bit of a breakout. I think PubMatic is also one of those companies that is shorted pretty heavily, but we have seen very nice consistent growth in revenues, earnings. Valuation remains very appealing at about 18.5 times earnings, 4 times sales, and then 10 times price to cash flow. So yeah, I do think, and the balance sheet also very good for PubMatic. So if you come over to the balance sheet here for the company, they are sitting on more assets than liabilities. And of course, if you come over to the total debt for the company, that is also much lower than the overall cash amount the company has on the balance sheet. So yeah, very strong numbers, beat on revenue, earnings, great balance sheet. And also, let's just quickly take a look at what the probabilities are now for interest rates. So look at that. We come down dramatically to 50 basis points, and then the market's anticipating another 50 basis points. That's it. That's pretty much it. For the rest of this year, the market now is anticipating 50-50 for September and November, and December, no hikes. Literally no hikes. But what's changed, wow, this is interesting. What's changed is that February of 2023, the market's anticipating now for another 25 basis point hike to 350, 375 basis points, 3.5% to 3.75%, and then have a cutback in May of 2023. So these are the revised, most up-to-date probabilities for interest rates. Another 50 in September, another 50 in November, no hikes in December, and then starting in February, another 25 basis points, no hike in March, and then a cutback in May for us to level off at 325, 350 basis points. So these obviously these numbers will fluctuate. They will change as more and more data comes out. Tomorrow we've got the PPI numbers, so the producer price index, and I'm sure they will also show a lot of improvement for overall inflation, and will fluctuate these interest rate projections as well. All right, let's take a look at our poll. What am I to expect? I'm expecting a lot of people are anticipating a breakout above 325. I think that's going to be the probability. That's going to be the majority of the vote, but let's just find out. So we've got over 260 votes. That's very low, so make sure that you do vote if you haven't already. But 61%, 2/3 of you expecting a breakout above $325, and then only 18% expecting a rejection at $325 for the QQQs, and 10% expecting a flat close. We've gone up quite a bit. I think we're going to close at 325. 10% of you expecting that. So make sure that you do vote. We'll come back to that right before the market opens. But right now, majority of us investors right now expecting a breakout above 325. Tui, Cathie, you were the first one to report on the Tesla Musk form filing for us last night. Nice, cool, come video. Thank you, appreciate that. Yeah, I was just scrolling through Tesla's website and noticed 6 Form 4 filings. I was like, what? That explains it, right? That explains a lot of it. And the volume was also very, very high for Tesla, right? So if you take a look at the volume over the last few days, it has been a little bit higher than average. The average has been 30 million. And then if you take a look at what it was on Friday, we had over 37 million shares traded. And then on Monday, we had over 33 million. So a little bit above average volume as well. So yes, get the likes past 325 as well. So we got to get the likes above 325 as well. Right now we're sitting at 317. We're about to break that resistance, guys. 325 is that resistance. We got to break that. 323, we're so close. So make sure that you drop a like as well. So we'll be looking at covered calls too. Don't forget, on green days like today, when the market's so hot to the upside, buyers are willing to pay. They pay top dollar for for calls, pretty much, because they want to buy calls. So also look into selling covered calls on any of your open positions. And obviously, if you're bullish on any companies, but you know a price point where you're comfortable letting go of your shares, and you want to collect your premiums at the same time, and of course lower your cost basis. Green days like today are usually the best times to be looking at selling covered calls because, like I said, the premiums are very, very good, and the buyers are paying top dollar for it. So. Herschel, how do we know if Musk is done selling? What if he sells more today? I think there was another, again, like I said, there was a Twitter post earlier, a thread to which he did respond to, and he did say that he was done selling, and the reason why he was selling was because of the Twitter acquisition. And if he's done, obviously that creates a lot of momentum once again for the stock itself, for it to push higher. So Neo, we have looked at ME, so I think that's 23andMe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the company. We have done a full analysis on this stock, up over 7% pre-market. Reported earnings, miss on EPS, revenue was a beat. But I have done an analysis on this company, so make sure that you do check out that video. It's a little bit older video, but I have done a complete fundamental analysis on this stock as well. I think it did that like 6 months ago or something like that. So make sure that you do check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, he just said he was done selling. Yeah, so I think that's what he mentioned in that Twitter post as well, that he was done with it. But QQQs, look at that. We're just like trading sideways now. After the initial jump here, it's just more or less trading sideways, and we're just not able to break past 325. It's like high of pre-market, 325.38, 325.23, 325, 325. We're just like not able to get that lift off that we need past 325. Yeah, so I'll do a video on Comcast. Again, there's a lot of videos I need to get through. It's been a couple of really busy weeks with earnings and inflation and employment and a lot of those things. But I'll try to definitely do videos on DraftKings, on Fubo, on Comcast, on Unity Software. There's a lot of companies that I need to get to, but I definitely will eventually. I promise. Yeah, once the volume comes in, it's possible that we get past 325. Should be a good breakout level for QQQs. So we got the volatility on the NASDAQ. So VXN trading down to as much as 28.4. So we have definitely come down. As the VIX has come down, VXN, which is more correlated with the NASDAQ 100, is also sold off. So both of these indices for volatility have dropped over 30-35%. Just trading at this level, 26.5. And of course, right now, coming down to lower levels, and the next one's going to be watching at close to 20.75, closer to 2021 levels. It's going to be the one to watch. Yes, so Fox, I'm assuming the numbers were good, just got in. Yes, the numbers were fantastic. Much lower than expectations, and that's exactly what the markets were looking forward to. And because of that, the interest rate probabilities of Fed funds futures also flipped back to a 50 basis point hike. And right now we're looking at 50. September 50 basis points, November 50 basis points, no hike in December, and for us to get up to 3.5%. So Michael, delta between Twitter and the acquisition price is 30%. Would you guys buy? Great question, but again, there is a reason why there is a delta, right? There's a reason why the price is not trading exactly at that acquisition price. Does anybody know why? Right? If Elon Musk has said that he's going to pay $54.20 for Twitter, but the price is still not trading at that level, why is it not trading at that level? And we talked about this in our yesterday's video, right? There was another company buying Unity Software. They put up an offer. I think it was like something $53 or something for offer. But still, Unity Software did not trade at that price. It did push higher pre-market, but it didn't quite trade at those levels. Yeah, there's a risk of not going through. There's always a risk that the deal is not going to go through, right? And with Elon Musk, the way he is, so erratic, there's always all possibilities are open when Elon Musk is on the other side of your deal. So there's always a risk of the deal not going through. So the market doesn't fully price in the entire amount. It prices in maybe 20% below or 10% below, keeps that margin of safety, keeps that risk in check, so that if the deal falls through, yes, the price is going to pull back, but at least it's not going to be that much of a drop. Do I think AMD is going to pass $100 today? So right now trading at 98.38. It's possible. I think it is very much a possibility, up over 3% right now, just trading at 98.50. We might even break out while I'm talking right now, but yeah, it's only a very small move. It's another 2%. That's a very normal day for AMD if it actually goes up 5%, because we have seen days like that, right? I mean, on Thursday, AMD was up 6%. The day before that, it was up 2.5%, and then yesterday it was down 4.5%. So it has been a little bit more volatile. And if the market does break out, if QQQ breaks out above 325, then I think we will see a lot of breakouts for individual companies as well. It's just that NASDAQ needs to find a way to lift above 325. Yeah, LABU, XBI is still strong, going in very strong after the numbers came out. So LABU I think is up like 7 or 8%. So yeah, I have trimmed some of that position, but I do have few shares left attached with some covered calls. Strikes sitting as much as $15 to as much as $20. So we'll see if I get called away. If I do get called away, great. That would be fantastic. But even if I don't, then that, you know, is obviously lowered my cost basis quite a bit, and I get to hold on to the shares. So yeah, very strong move for LABU and XBI as well. So Marvell, right? MRVL, Marvell Technology. Let's take a quick look. So very consistent. So you say, I swear it's profitable. And the first thing we see is 4 quarters out of 5 negative. Q1 21, negative 88 million. Q2 of 21, negative 276 million, negative 62 million. I'm just kidding. No, 2021 was obviously, you know, unprofitable as well. 2020 was unprofitable. So I think it's been very, very back and forth for the company, no doubt. The balance sheet looks good. You know, seems to they do have, well, they don't have enough cash to pay down their debt, but they do have a lot of assets. You just want to make sure that's not like goodwill or anything like that. Those are actual assets for the company. And right now, total inventory, total current assets, total non-current assets, 19 billion. Let's see, long-term investments, 18 billion. See, net intangible assets, right? Something that I mentioned right now, goodwill, $11.5 billion. Because companies like Marvell Technology, like that are in the business of content creation and just, you know, like Walt Disney and all those companies, if they put like that's like $17 billion worth of goodwill and intangible assets on their balance sheet, right? That's one of the reasons why their assets are at 22 billion, and their liabilities are 6 billion. So you want to be careful for those. Not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just something that I would not include when I'm doing my analysis when it comes to the balance sheet. I want to see property, plant, equipment. I want to see cash. I want to see marketable securities, short-term investments. Those are things that are liquid. Those are things that are tangible. Those are things that are worth something. Obviously, goodwill is also worth a lot of money, but it's just not something that we include when we do our analysis for balance sheet. So unfortunately, not quite profitable for the last couple of years. Quarter over quarter doesn't look super great, and the balance sheet is also not fantastic. And the company has issued a lot of shares in the last, I want to say like 6 years or so. They've gone from 507 million to over 846 million. So pretty significant growth. Valuation's low, price, I mean, actually not really that low. 9 times sales, we're trading at 45 times cash flow, 38 times enterprise value to EBITDA. So just a little bit of a rough estimate analysis on it. A little bit of share dilution. Valuation's not super appealing, and the balance sheet has a lot of goodwill and intangible assets. So Brandon says, all in on Tesla, taking a loan against my house to buy shares. No comment. Just be careful with that, my friend. AMD, so AMD's got a resistance, you know, as we just talked about here a few minutes ago, but AMD's got a resistance right now sitting roughly $102. So $100 a share. That's going to be that resistance to watch for advanced micro devices, support level at $93, $94 a share. Yeah, Tesla from a fundamental standpoint is grossly undervalued. Yeah, I mean, we did an analysis, remember? We did together as a community, we did a live intrinsic value calculation for Tesla based on the growth rates and the P multiples. And does anybody remember what that intrinsic value came out to be? Fair value at $2,000. No, our intrinsic value as a community when we did our live analysis was roughly over $1,500. So take it up with each other because that's the growth rate we all together came up with at 50%, and the P multiple everybody was at 50 times as well. So when the ARC value and Tesla video coming out. So Oscar, I've actually done a video on that already. I know I mentioned that I will be doing a new one, but looks like they haven't changed or updated their models. I've actually already done a video on that. I'll share it in our Discord. I'll share it with you. But I've already done a video going over Cathie Wood and ARK Invest models on Tesla shares. So we'll be sharing that as well. But that video is already done and it's out. So Yeah, no stock is in the world is exclusive for you to go all in. Warren Buffett said that. Yeah, I think that's a great quote, and that's a very, very good quote. So that, that's the thing, like concentration can obviously create massive wealth, but can also destroy massive wealth, right? So if you just concentrate in one or two stocks, then you really, really need to know the ins and outs of the company. You need to know like everything, like every possible little detail about the company you should know about, right? And you should be acknowledging that risk that if you are concentrating into one stock or two stock, then there is going to be high risk, high reward potential with that. Diversification obviously protects wealth as well, and at the same time grows it in a more consistent way. Yeah, and even when you know the 99% of the company doesn't know you own the stock exactly. And a lot of things can change. I mean, we've just seen in the last couple days here, two earnings calls that I was absolutely surprised with was Nvidia and Palantir. Even though Nvidia has not released their actual earnings, but I was still very shocked with what they reported, and of course the Palantir's numbers. Both of those companies, guided down their numbers. You can just those are perfect examples that even company insiders, even CEOs, don't know like what the outlook's gonna be like. They can't assess the macroeconomic shifts that are happening. Palantir said 30% growth through 2025. Now they're guiding for 23% growth for this year. Nvidia said 67% gross margins and over $8 billion in revenue. Then they actually reported $6.7 billion and 45% gross margins. Just goes to show that it is, incredibly challenging when it comes to the macro headwinds that a lot of companies deal with. Yeah, Palantir didn't shock anyone. That's true. Palantir did not shock anyone from the perspective that they were going to report terrible numbers, but just the fact that they obviously lowered their guide tremendously. So KL, I did a video on Palantir as well, so make sure that you do check out that video if you haven't already. We've talked about that in more detail. So Brandon, yes, I think that's a great quote from Warren Buffett, but I would also say that as obviously numbers get bigger and bigger, right, diversification is what really matters, right? Because obviously, when we talk about Warren Buffett in itself, and obviously he's trading with hundreds of billions of dollars, even obviously at that level, he's not, putting everything into one stock or two stock, despite how much he might know about that company. He still has a good, 20 stocks or 18 to 20 stocks that he's diversified into, right? Because numbers have gotten so large, even though 40% of that is into Apple. But obviously, even him, he has taken that approach where he's not only in one or two stocks, right? He's going to be a little bit more diversified because sums get bigger and bigger. Obviously, if you're dealing with lower sums, then it would make sense to concentrate on a few plays or a few ideas. But as numbers get bigger and bigger, capital preservation becomes a bigger challenge in the markets. Yeah, Buffett is all in on Dairy Queen. I've seen those photos of him at the Dairy Queen. But Occidental is another one that he's been buying like crazy. Occidental, OXY. Man, he's been plowing money into this stock left and right. It's crazy how much he's just been buying and buying and buying. Like this week as well, he bought 4 days ago. Wait, what? Berkshire Hathaway posts a $43.8 billion loss as the stock holdings tumble? Oh, in the second quarter, the conglomerate run by billionaire. Okay. Oh, this is from the report. Yeah. So. Yeah, but they have just been buying. They now own 20% of the company. Yeah, pretty crazy. So again, only time will tell, what happens with Occidental, and what's the main purpose, what's the objective of him picking up a lot of Occidental shares. Maybe see something bigger, like in terms of the company shift and the management and everything else. But the company, one of the things they have been doing really well is obviously using all these earnings to pay down their debt. So balance sheet, if you come over to the debt section, it's been coming down. So, if you take a look at quarter over quarter, look how well the company's been paying down debt. They started at 37 billion, they're coming down to 23 billion. And then same thing can be said for free cash flow. You can see how the free cash flow number is growing very, very rapidly. So those are two things that have definitely changed for Occidental. But does that make it so investable to own 20% of the company? Debatable. All right, so we're still under 325. I'm going to go over to the polls, see where we are with the polls here. Again, make sure that you also vote and tell us what you anticipate for the markets today. So now we've got 464 votes and 62% expecting the markets to break out. QQQ to break out above 325, and then 27% expecting a rejection at 325, and then 11% close at $325. So those right there are going to be the expectations from all of you. We're going to end the poll there. We are ready for our market open live stream here. So 3 minutes to go. We'll see. We'll find out what the day is going to be looking like today. Going up there for a second retest, 325. Kevin says 3 minutes until lag. Come on, I thought we were past this. You guys can't keep joking about the lag. We haven't had any lag issues in the last 2 live streams. It's a streak. We've had a streak going on. Ready for the lag. Team Green Mike. All right, let me just do a quick poll for the different teams. Are you actually Team Red Mike or Team Red Mike? Team Green Mike. Come on, this better be good. This red mic gave you opportunity. That green mic would never give you the opportunity. The green mic would just keep pushing the markets higher and higher. It will never, the green mic, the purpose of that mic would just be to push higher. Right? The markets never give you a dip, never give you an opportunity. The red mic was built to give you an opportunity, to help you buy and, of course, dollar cost average and then take advantage of those opportunities. So here we are. We got about 1 minute and 15 seconds. I'm going to switch over to the actual indices. And of course, we'll have individual stocks to also talk about. But Tesla here, $891. Opportunistic threat mic is sus. The red mic has taught me a life lesson. That's good. That's great to hear. Glad. Look at Amazon pushing higher, 3.6%. Very, very strong move here. Nvidia also 3.5% here, and Tesla 4.88%. There we go. 30 seconds left. Let's see where we are. 56%. Look at that. It's pretty tied. Not bad. 44%. Let's go. Red mic for the win. Yes, sir. All right. So we are good to go. We'll kind of circle through different watch lists. We'll talk about banks, cybersecurity, Dow Jones, EVs, a lot of names there. And off we go for QQQs. We're getting up to 324.88 right at the open. We'll see if the volume is enough to push past that resistance. Vertex just hit $301. So, Wesley, what do I think about Man United's performance last week? not great. Very, very frustrated with their performance. But also let me know if there's any lagging issues. Just make sure that you give me a thumbs up, or let me know if there's any lags going on. All right, so off we go. NASDAQ opening up 2.4%. I can't even find it on the chart. Where did it open? Right here, all the way up here. 12,800. We've got S&P, again, can't really find it. You have to go much, much higher. There we go. 4193, and then the Dow Jones also opening up. God, where is it? Oh, there we go. There's the big green candle coming in, up 1.3%. So very strong moves coming in. We got Amazon up 3.88%. Tesla seeing a little bit of a pullback at the open, still up 4% though. And AMD at 97.71, up 2.3%. Nvidia up 2.6%. So all FANG stocks, very, very green. Apple 2%, Google 2%, Microsoft, AMD 2%, Nvidia 2.7%, Netflix, Amazon 3.5%, almost 4%, and then Meta and Tesla up 4% each. And then stocks that are up, Trade Desk, look at that, Trade Desk up 27% in one day. Absolutely incredible after the earnings, of course, and the push that we're getting from the overall market. Looks like we are getting a bit of a rejection there at 325. Look at that. Look at the high for the day. $325.05. Incredible. Incredible how there is just so many sellers sitting right there. And the poll that we did, I just want to go back on the chat. Does anybody remember what the poll was for 325 breakout versus breakdown? I think it was like 60% breakout, and I think 30% rejection and 10% closing at 325, if I remember correctly. I think that was a probability. But yeah, just kind of fighting that level so well for QQQs. Yeah, about 325 was over 60% probability. Probability as in expectations. So right now we're just like right there, 325.05. And yeah, don't forget, cover calls are going to be very lucrative, I think, in this environment, given how green we are. There are stocks that are red though. Roblox, Trulieve, we got Alibaba selling off a little bit. Baidu is down. But everything else obviously pushing higher very, very nicely. Oscar says I only buy SoFi. How well is SoFi doing right now? Up almost 4%, 772 right now. Michael says, YOLO out of the money calls. I meant covered calls and only selling them, because that's what our strategy is focused on. Obviously, no naked calls or not buying calls either. Very rarely, if I were to buy a call, that would only be a leap. That's at least a couple of years out, but I meant selling covered calls. There we go. We're probably going up for another retest here very soon. So we'll see if we actually do get that breakout past 325. You know, considering QQQ's already pushed up 2.2%, it should be interesting whether we get that breakout or not. But the probability certainly is a little bit lower, considering the QQQ's already up to 2.5% on the day. And we're seeing a little bit of a pullback here. Tesla is still up 3.2%. However, coming down to $877. AMD is down to 97.30s here. Amazon also giving up on some of the gains, coming down to 143, up 3.66%. Nvidia, 2.5% here in the green, up 175 right now. So Oscar says, bought a put on InMode. I already have 2 covered calls on it. Riding the waves, should come down a bit. That's good. That's what's called a protective collar. So that's very smart. And that's another option strategy that we have talked about. If you are really, really green on a stock, protective callers are another way to kind of ensure your position, right? So that's pretty much a way to lock in your upside and lock in your pretty much downside. In other words, limit your downside risk. And the best way to do that is doing zero cost collars, where you sell a covered call, you get the credit, and you can use that credit to buy a put, and that allows you to insure your downside. I call it buying an insurance policy on the stock because that's really what it is when you're doing protective collars. So that's I think that's a great strategy. That if you are green on a stock and you want to protect some of those gains, that's very lucrative. Okay, so we are seeing a little bit of a pullback. 325, man, that level is just... Yes, I'll bring up the moving averages in the Discord charts. I'll update it, Puneet, as soon as I finish off the live stream, because I'm watching this. This is the main chart. And right now, if you open up the main chart, you should be able to see and follow along with me right now on the 1 minute time frame. But once the live stream ends, I will reset this chart back to the daily and bring out the moving averages again. So there we go, 325. Just another rejection there, right? So you can see it, consistent rejection day in, day out for the last week. We're just not able to break past 325, at least not right now. All right, so running through the watch list here, ARK is all green so far. ARKF up 4.4%, ARKW, ARKK, all of them pushing higher. All banks are pushing up, so very nicely. Square, SoFi, there we go, 4%. We got PayPal up 2.4%, BlackRock, Barclays, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, all of them very, very nicely green. Cybersecurity is very much higher, starting with Zscaler, and then CrowdStrike, Okta. Kevin, man. We got energy. So energy is more or less flat here. Crude oil is selling off, so back under $9 a barrel, but other energy stocks are more or less flat, up or down slightly. And then fintechs, we went over earlier, but firms up over 10%. Very nice move for a firm here. I think I've done a video on a firm as well, so did a complete fundamental analysis on that company. And then so make videos on, I've already done videos on Palantir, Twilio, did a video on SoFi. These are some Square I also did a video on, so only got 2. And again, if you want me to add more to this list, I'm happy to. But we've also got another list that we're working on that I need to analyze those stocks as well. So Oscar says my price for SoFi is $595 and 25,000 shares. That's incredible, man. That's awesome. You are raining in cash, my friend. Literally, just cash is falling over you. Like you're just like drowned in money. That's incredible. That's awesome. Congratulations. Semiconductors. We got Lam Research, NVIDIA, TSM on semiconductors on. I'm also going to be doing a video on, so let me just add that to the list here. Right here, perfect. And then semis, all of them very green so far. But markets are pulling back though. On the 5 minute, we are starting to see a little bit of pullback. Nasdaq's now only up 2%, and that 325 resistance really playing a big key role here intraday. AMD and Tesla both showing a little bit of weakness. So is NVIDIA. Meta though, 176 of 4.7%. Interesting. And then Apple, 1.6, and Google here is up almost 2%. So, yeah, overall, I'll do like an update. Actually, you know what? I'll just include that in the market updates video tomorrow. I don't think anybody wants like a more detailed analysis on inflation, I think we covered that pretty well today. Interest rate expectations, we've also talked about those. So yeah, this is where we are for interest rates. Probabilities we talked about. Inflation report already out. Very good numbers. And earnings are also pretty much wrapped up. Walt Disney is later today. We got Dutch Bros. And then Matterport later today with Sonos, Marquita, Bumble. And then some of the other companies. Rivian might affect Amazon as well, depending on what they announce. And then Six Flags, Hut 8, Beam, and Honest Companies later this week. Well, we'll see. Another retest, 325. We'll wait. We'll see. Yeah, banks are pushing as well. So I feel like markets are starting to kind of stabilize a little bit after the intraday pullback first 10 minutes, and now we're starting to push right back higher. Leading with Meta. I mean, Meta's doing pretty well. I think it's up 5% now. Everybody who's bullish on Meta right now in the chat, this is your chance. Where's all the Tesla holders, huh? Meta's beating right now. Meta's up 5. I'm just kidding. But Meta's up 5.6%. Tesla's only up 2.6%. There you go. I'm just kidding, by the way, just so you guys know. What is the next resistance for Meta? 175 is what 175 we just broke out. Yes, I have both too. I have both. So yeah, so we actually did see a little bit of a breakout above 175. So 175 was our resistance. We're starting to see a little bit of a breakout. So next resistance I'll be watching is pretty much at 200, 196, 200. That would be the level to watch for Meta. Yeah, LABU might be pulling back a little bit now, so we'll take a look at that as well. So LABU now only up 3.4%, up to $11.80. XBI, I think, is the one to really be paying attention to, up 1%, trading as much as $91. Yeah, Michael, I think chip stocks are struggling because of multitude of different reasons. We've heard from Micron, so Micron yesterday said they weren't going to meet positive free cash flow. In fact, it was going to be negative free cash flow. Big jump coming in for S&P and the Dow, by the way, right now. But NVIDIA also, guiding lower for, revenue and margins. AMD mentioning that graphic sales, and gaming sector is kind of slowing down. PC demand is softening as well, so there's a lot of headwinds for chip stocks in general. All right, looks like we are going to get a little bit of a second retest on 325. We'll see if the volume's enough to break us above 325. So Google's up 2%, still pushing higher. Sometimes I also like to look at these percentage change gainers. Like these are some of the most insane moves in the markets that are up or down. So this TradingView has this feature where this stock CLWT is up 56%. Most of the times, not always, but most of the times you'll find these are like very small, like penny stocks or something. See 18 million market cap. So most of the times they're like very, very low cap stocks. But Trade Desk is on there, right? So up $72.85, up 33%. And then some of these companies that are selling off quite a bit, just for fun. Obviously, this TradingView has this feature to look at. But MAPS, MAPS, down 34% here on the day. Long term still bullish though. Yeah, I mean long term still pretty optimistic about the overall chip demand. It might be slowing down a little bit, just considering how much of a pull forward we saw during COVID. Lots of demand for electronics, gaming consoles, a lot of things. So that has kind of leveled off, and comps have really just become tough on a year-over-year basis. But long term still pretty optimistic about it. In mode up 6%, getting up to $37.50. Still not quite as high as 38.70 as where we were just a few days ago, but definitely a very strong move. Yesterday it was down over 7.6%, just kind of bouncing off of those levels from yesterday. There we go, QQQ going up for a second retest. Actually a third retest. We had a retest pre-market, then we have a retest right at the open, and now we're just getting up once again to 325. DraftKings, I'll do a video on very soon. I'll add this to the list of companies to make a video on. DKNG. Volatility, yes, it was selling off. I think the last time we checked it was down 5%. Right now it's down 6.7, so coming down to 20 levels. So very, very interesting levels from the VIX. And yeah, this is the first time we're coming down to 20 since April. And of course, if we cross down below 20, that would be the first time since March that the VIX would cross below 20. Yeah, in mode approaching 40 soon, that would be great. I've got covered calls at those levels. AVGO, yeah, let's just do that right now. Semiconductors. Broadcom. Perfect, up 1.66%. So Oscar, under 20 is a buy. Under 20, well, VIX is not tradable. VIX in itself is not going to be something that you'll be able to trade. But if you want to take advantage of volatility, then there's other things like VXX. Then there's UVXY. That's another one that is pretty much trading on short-term futures and volatility. As the VIX is down, that's also down. So the VIX in itself is just an index, but there are other derivatives that are pretty much tracking the volatility that you can trade off of. But remember what you're actually buying, right? Understand what you're actually buying when you're buying VIX or VIX-related ETFs or derivatives. TVIX, TVIX, rest in peace. Kevin, that's an ETF that was never recommended, but it's just one of those things where there's a very, very funny video from another creator who does a lot on volatility, and forgot what his name was, but he did a video on TVIX. It was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. It was just, he had this picture in the thumbnail of just like TVIX, just rest in peace. It was really funny, the whole video. The first 30 seconds were hilarious. I'll see if I can share that video in our Discord. Did you mean Twix? So Ethereum 1834, very strong breakout. Bitcoin also 24,000, starting to get up there. 24,400 is going to be that level. Let's go QQQs. At least get up to 325. If you are going to get rejected, at least get up there. Yes, Oscar, what I mean by that is understand what you are buying, meaning that you're not buying a stock or a company or an ETF. You're actually trading volatility, right? So you're making a bet on volatility. That's what it was. That's what it is, right? So just that's what I meant when you need to know what you're buying is that it's not a company, it's not a ETF or anything like that. It's just trading volatility. Michael, that's incredible. You released a video about LABU maybe 3 to 4 months ago. I bought shares. They up 105%. Got in at 583 average. That's incredible. That's amazing. My average is around the same time, 551, even though I bought in higher. But I sold covered calls against it. That lowered my cost basis tremendously. And yeah, very, very good. That's incredible. Congratulations. And I'm glad to hear that. So, all right, I'm gonna wait 5-10 minutes more, see where this QQQ goes, whether we can get another 325 retest here. Looks like we are starting to push a little bit higher, 54 basis points right now. Meta is up 6% right now. Google up 2.4%. Tesla up 3%. Nvidia up 2.5% right now. So still a lot of momentum coming in. Marathon's up 8.8%. Looks like Musk is still selling Tesla. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he is. So Shrino asks why Elon sold Tesla shares worth $7 billion. Mostly because I think of Twitter acquisition. I think that was a key reason behind it. Yeah, there was something like that, right? With the red mic, it was actually breaking out. It was cutting out for me. And I think if you can go back on the timeline, it might have been around like June, like first week of June or middle of June. So those were some serious signs mentioned in Discord as well. So looks like we are starting to see a little bit of a pullback again on QQQs. But we've been live for almost 2 hours now. So again, thank you so much for joining in. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Team red mic all the way 44%, so that's really good. Green mic 56%. But thank you so much for joining in, everybody. Make sure that you drop a like. Let's see if we can get up to at least 500 likes on this video. And of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk a lot about fundamental analysis, technical analysis, macroeconomics, stocks, and options. Those are 4 things that we cover: fundamentals, technicals, economics, and stocks options. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And Patreon, Discord link down in the description if you want to join and of course be a part of our money investing community, and of course our Discord channel. Really appreciate it. Hope you all have a great, fantastic green day. And we'll be live again tomorrow. Tomorrow is PPI numbers, so producer price index is the other side of inflation report. That's going to be equally, if not more important, for the markets. And happy investing, and I'll see you all in the next live stream.